Hi friends, happy Saturday! My name is Megan and welcome back to my channel, The Crafty Quinn. Today's video features Dollar Tree, decor ideas, DIY, and more. Now if that's something you're into, I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. Today I have some fall cottagecore decor for you, so let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to be working with these small foam balls that I got from Dollar Tree, and they come in a pack of 3 as you can see right there. And these were an awesome find. I'm so glad that my Dollar Tree carries these. And they are going to be turned into cute little pumpkins. And I'm also taking some of that Dollar Tree yarn there so we can stay under the under 5 budget here. So thank you guys so much for watching my last video, which was all about cottagecore decor, and that was a brand new style for me. I had never done anything like that before, so I had so much fun with it. I wanted to try my hand at a fall version of cottagecore decor, and I haven't really seen too many videos or Pinterest crafts about that yet, so I wanted to try something new, get out of my comfort zone once again, and try to make some pieces that I would think of if I was, I don't know, living in a cottage in the woods, trying to make some fall decorations from some things that you find in nature. And that's really what I think about this decor style cottagecore. I think it really does incorporate a lot of nature elements into it. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do with these DIYs. I took a stick from outside, and that is what I'm using as the pumpkin stem here. And as you just saw, I'm simply just wrapping this twine completely around the foam ball, and I'm just taking my hot glue gun and I'm just gluing every inch or so and then just letting it just wrap around. So you just keep repeating that step. You just glue, wrap, and then I'm about halfway down, and then I decided to go a different way with this and actually make it half yarn and half twine. So next I'm going to take my twine and I'm going to use that to finish off the bottom of this pumpkin. This definitely was a little bit more tedious to work with than the yarn because this twine, also Dollar Tree twine, was very thin, so you could clearly see all of like the white foam underneath of it. So you just had to make sure you really kind of like put the yarn, well, the twine strands like almost on top of each other. And it was the same thing, just glue a little bit and then wrap, glue a little bit and then wrap. And then finally, when you have the bottom completely covered, then I just left a little piece there because I made it all the way to the very end. And so it's just like a little tiny hole at the very end. And you're like, okay, I just got to finish this off and just kind of wrap a little circle inside of it there. And then once you have that filled in as much as you can with the twine, then you're just going to take that end piece and snip off the excess. So next, to finish off the top of this, the stem of this little pumpkin, I thought it'd be cute to tie a little tiny bow on top of it. And I actually went a couple different ways with this, trying to find the best thing that would work because I was just trying to find a really cute stem. So I took some twine right now and I'm just wrapping a little bow on it, but I decided to add a little bit more things to it, which you'll see shortly. So I went ahead and added some Spanish moss to this, also kind of looking like in nature and kind of like the stem of the pumpkin as well. And these are how they turned out, and I really, really like them. So next we are going to make some more pumpkins, but we're going about this a different way. So I have these Hobby Lobby woodpile oval pieces, and so I went all over to like multiple Dollar Trees looking for these oval shapes, because I saw that they had oval shapes, but in different sizes. There was one really large version, there was one kind of, it looked like an oval plaque. So you could actually make these from Dollar Tree pieces and not Hobby Lobby pieces if you were to find those oval shapes. But they're very hard to find, so pretty much when you see them at Dollar Tree, you have to grab them. That's kind of what I've learned being a Dollar Tree crafter now. So I'm actually going to paint these all first in the white Waverly chalk paint. I'm just going to give them all, they don't have to have a thick coat of paint, but really it's important that the background of this is white because what is going to go on top of this, the white is going to show through easily. And if I didn't paint it, it would have just been the raw can't talk today, raw wood showing through. So I recommend hot gluing the doily to this wood piece to hold it in place and then cut around it. And I should have done that. I was like, how is the best way to cut this? So I highly recommend hot gluing it first and then just cutting around it. That is the much easier way to do this. When you're crafting late at night, you're not always using your best judgment, so I recommend doing it that way. And here's another thing I did, and I should not have done this. I took my fine tip glue gun here, and I glue gunned, as you can see, the entire thing, right? Well, this is a doily, and you can see all of the hot glue pieces through the little holes there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe I did that, but I'm like, you can see all of the hot glue through this. So don't do that. If you do want to use hot glue and glue the doily to this wood piece, just do the parts where, you know, the doily is thicker, not in the parts with the little tiny holes and you can see all the hot glue come through, if that makes sense. So you can glue it, just make sure you're gluing in the spots where there is a thicker piece of fabric. I hope that makes sense, but I hope you guys can take these lessons learned from me and just do as I say, not as I do. So next, to get the pumpkins in place, you just want to put them all together kind of like in a set of, well, in the set of 3, right? But you want to put these 2 pieces on the back of the middle piece. And when you do that, when you flip it around, it looks like a pumpkin. And Unicorn Dust Design, she made a large version of this using those antique serving trays, and she made a life-size pumpkin of it. It's so cute, so you should definitely check that out on her channel. I'm going to link her channel down below. So next, I'm taking this little branch, this tiny branch, and so I just snipped off a piece of it with my scissors, and I'm going to hot glue this about halfway down, and that kind of reinforces it if you place the stick about halfway underneath instead of just like gluing it all the way at the very top. But it's about half and half, so it's half sticking out and half glued down, so that really helped enforce things. And we're almost done. We are almost done. Now for the finishing touch, I thought it would be so cute to just add a little tiny twine bow to this as well. So for my next DIY, we are actually going to make a version of this with some scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. And their scrapbook paper is normally pretty cheap. I think pieces like this go for about 69 cents. I think the price is on, yeah, there you go. Price is right on there. It says 69 cents. And then sometimes they do some big sales there and you can get it for about 50% off. So I mean, that's even way cheaper. So that's great. So it was just a lot easier to just put all 3 ovals, put all 3 ovals next to each other so you can keep the rest of your scrapbook paper piece intact there. So next, I'm just taking my glue stick. This is the Craft Bond glue stick by Elmer's Glue, and that's all you really need to adhere these to the wood. They hold really well. It's just the part where, because you're cutting it, you know, it doesn't always match up completely. So I just kind of have to move it and shift it around until I feel like the wood piece is completely covered by the scrapbook paper. And then I actually did lay these down with something really heavy on top of it, just to make sure that the scrapbook paper was definitely holding to the Craft Bond glue. Sorry guys, I can't talk today. It's Saturday. So anyway, I'm doing the same process that I did before, and I'm just hot gluing them all in place. You want to lay those 2 circles touching each other behind the middle piece. And then same with the twig. You want to glue this about halfway down the piece and then put half of it behind the pumpkin. And it holds really well. I was really impressed. And like I said before, we are almost done. There's one more finishing piece, and that is adding the little twine bow. Now, when I think of cottagecore decor, I really think of like Matilda. You know that movie Matilda years ago? And oh my gosh, I can't think of the woman that, spoiler alert, adopted her. But that part where they're like making stuff at the cottage and stuff like this. I kind of, that's what I thought of it when I was making this cottagecore decor. It just kind of reminds me of that movie Matilda and just all kinds of fun movies like that. Now, if you're new here, my name is Megan, and this is Marcus the Crafty Kitty, and I love to make Dollar Tree DIYs and home decor that looks high-end but is budget-friendly. So if you could please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, it would really help my channel grow. Thanks you guys, and now let's get back to the crafts. So next, we are going to take one of these Dollar Tree metal serving platters. It's really pretty. It has this really pretty design on the sides, edges of it, whatever you want to call it. And I always look at this and think how pretty it would look if you just put a coat of, well, a heavy coat of white Waverly chalk paint on it, or just any chalk paint in general. And that is exactly what I did. So I coated this, I want to say it took me about 3 coats to really get it to where I wanted it. And then I'm taking that antique Waverly wax, and I realized I put way too much on. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to put some on here. I'm going to take some off with a paper towel. And I've heard that the longer you leave this wax on there, the darker it gets. And I know that to be true with the white Waverly wax, but I wasn't sure if it was the same with this brown antique wax. And it kind of was. Definitely, well, it kind of clung to the paint like right away, because this chalk paint, I mean, it just really absorbs everything. So that is definitely something I noticed. So you have to be really careful with how much is on your brush to begin with. So I would just dab my brush into the Waverly wax, and then after that, just immediately wipe it on the paper towel to take off all the excess. And that was really the best trick to try and get this, the shade of antique, or the level of antique that I really wanted. So I'm just doing that around, I'm just using a very small amount of wax on my brush and just going around all of the edges, all of the sides. I'm kind of going in the creases as well, and just really trying to get the wax on every edge that I can. So like I was mentioning earlier in the video, cottagecore, and this is the style of decor that I've liked to try and do lately. I think it's a brand new style of decor from what I've heard anyway, and it got really big on TikTok apparently with everyone being in quarantine, staying home, baking bread. That is what I've heard from multiple people, is that it came out of quarantine. And also I heard that it had something to do with one of Taylor Swift's albums. I'm not sure. Might have something to do with that. But I mean, it definitely makes sense because cottagecore is all about being cozy. So once I have the edges of this platter all antiqued, I took some scrapbook paper. I thought this really cute. This kind of, I don't know. So this is from Hobby Lobby, and it kind of, to me, looked like cottagecore. And I don't know why, because there's also buffalo plaid in it. And I know buffalo plaid or buffalo check, whatever you want to call it, has a lot to do with farmhouse style decor. But I really liked this scrapbook paper. I just loved how, I don't know, it just kind of looked delicate, but also very chic. So I thought this would be the perfect kind of fall scrapbook paper to put in a cottagecore DIY. And like I said, I think it really looks kind of modern, but also very chic and classy at the same time. So I thought that would look great in this platter. And really, I wanted this platter to be a display piece. Maybe you can hang it up on your wall, whatever you want to do. But I decided to take some Craft Bond glue stick, and I don't know why I did that. I was testing out a theory. I wanted to see how well it would hold the scrapbook paper to the platter. It held it to the metal part of the platter that I didn't paint very well. But to the edges that were covered in chalk paint, it did not hold. So I don't recommend doing that, but I just wanted to test it out and see how it would work, and it definitely did not work the way I wanted it to. So I just recommend Mod Podging it. I typically avoid Mod Podge when I can because I don't like that it can turn the paper kind of crinkly. But then I ended up using it to seal the paper because I figured if I want to store this piece anywhere, unless it's covered in something, it's going to get damaged. So when I go to put this decor piece away eventually with the rest of my fall decor, I don't want it to get damaged. That's why I'm taking a coat of, well, heavy coat of Mod Podge to try and seal this. So I recommend either 2 coats of Mod Podge or 1 very heavy coat of Mod Podge to seal this, depending on your preference. And then this is the end result, and I think it's very, very pretty. I think I may just lay this up against my wall. So next we're going to need 2 more platters. You're going to need a total of 3 platters for all of the DIYs in this video. And I'm actually doing something kind of similar. I am coating these 2 platters completely in the white Waverly chalk paint. And I did have to go through and add at least 3 coats each to each of these platters because the metal really shows through. And if you want to, I guess, coat these in the wax like I have been, I feel like the metal showing through just really kind of messes with the look that I'm going for. So I just want to make sure it's completely coated in the white chalk paint. So for this, I learned my lesson from the small oval wood pieces, and I glued this down first with my hot glue gun, and then I just cut around it. And then that's how I got it to be the perfect shape. So these are Dollar Tree doilies. They come in a pack of 2, and this is actually what I've been using to stage a lot of my Cottagecore DIYs. So I use this fabric a lot, as you can tell, but I love these fabric doilies that Dollar Tree sells, and I went around to so many other stores to try and find these. I went to Michael's, I went to Hobby Lobby, I went to, well, the Joann Fabrics near us were closing down, but I went to a bunch of different stores to try and see it, and I went to a bunch of Dollar Trees as well. So these were very difficult to find at your Dollar Tree depending on where you're located. But I found these actually at a larger Dollar Tree store. So I'm not sure if that's just where they're putting these and they're not letting these go to the smaller stores or what. But I know that these smaller stores definitely have the paper ones at least. So I mean, you can do that I guess if you want with the paper doilies, but I really prefer the fabric doilies, and I'm planning to probably use the scraps from this for other DIYs as well, for Cottagecore DIYs. So once all of them are hot glued down to both of my platters, not sure what I'm doing here. So once everything is glued down, then we're gonna go to the next piece. And so I saw on Pinterest this idea of putting leaves in little kind of like oval signs or something like that. And so it's not quite this, but I was inspired by that. So I thought it would be super cute to use these Dollar Tree platters to try and do something like that. And so I'm actually taking Velcro buttons and I'm sticking them down onto the doily, and then I'm sticking the opposite, attachment to the Velcro on the back of the leaves. So I actually wanted this all to be very temporary. I think I want to maybe switch it out at some point, add some flowers to this eventually. So I didn't want to hot glue down any of these leaves. Because I really like the back of these frames, whatever you want to call them, and I thought it would be the perfect DIY to switch out for many times of the year. And it held it really well. I was surprised how well those little Velcro beads stay to those leaves. And those are fabric leaves from Dollar Tree. Those are the brand new fall leaves. So perfect in time for this DIY. So I hot glued the twine. I'm crazy. I'm just like putting my finger on the hot glue. I think I have no fingerprints left at this point. It like doesn't even hurt anymore. So I'm taking the Dollar Tree twine and I am making signs out of these. I think I may, put them on my shelf up against the wall, or I may hang these on my wall. I'm still deciding, but I wanted the option too. So I decided to make a little hanger, and then I decided to reinforce it with a popsicle stick. I can't think of the name of it. So I did that technique to both, and they're both coming along nice. And I actually added one more Velcro bead there to the leaf because it was sticking out too much and it was really bothering me. And there you go. Now I'm just adjusting the leaf because I wanted it to not look so crooked. But I thought these were cute fall cottagecore DIYs. And now I'm taking more of that antique wax and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the last DIY to these frames. So I'm just taking a brush. It was just a lot easier to use a very tiny paintbrush to do this rather than like a chippy brush, because if I had used a chippy brush, it would have gotten all over the fabric doily. I didn't really go too much around the edges of the doily because I didn't want to get the antique wax on it, so I really just decided to focus on the edges of this. And luckily I don't think I got any on the fabric, so it ended up working out great. So I'm using the same technique, only putting a tiny amount of wax on my brush. For this, I don't even know if I ended up needing to take any excess off. I think I got really good at just taking the excess off my brush before it got onto the platter. And then some spots were a little bit darker with the wax, but that's okay. It's not supposed to be perfect. I mean, this is supposed to be an antique piece, you know, maybe looking like it had years worth of damage or something. So this was the end result, and I think these are the perfect cottagecore fall pieces to hang up on your wall. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out more videos, watch them over here on the left, and let's keep in touch on Instagram. Hope you guys are having an amazing weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye!